So last weekend I took a little road trip to Gatwick to check out a new £250,000 Airbus A320 simulator at Infinity Simwings. They're located right next to the airport, and when I say next to the airport, I mean really next to the airport. I lost my bearings a little bit when I hopped out of the car, and I saw this A350 just appear behind a building as it was climbing out of 08. Right, you are so close to it all. Really, really cool. But we didn't come here for the plane spotting. We came here to check out this awesome new flight simulator. So Infinity Simwings is ran by Hani and Ethan, and I'd like to just thank them first of all just for being so cool during my visit. If you've ever fancied something like this but feel an element of intimidation, you don't need to feel that way here. Both Hani and Ethan have got so much knowledge around this stuff, and it's just so clear to me that they just love sharing it with others. If you fancy a go yourself, they also gave me a coupon code of NOT5 where you can save yourself 5%. Full disclosure, I also do get a referral fee, so it's a great way for you to support the channel while saving yourself a few quid. Everybody wins. Members of my Discord can get a larger discount of 10%. If you'd like to join, you can do so by becoming a channel member here on YouTube or by subbing on Twitch. As for the cockpit, it's a 1-to-1 scale replica of the real A320 cockpit, which for me, it was just so cool to get my hands on this stuff, in particular the side stick and the throttles. Channel regulars will know that I've been on a bit of a journey with the side stick for the last few months, and my issue really is that I never really knew if what I'd achieved was like the real thing, as I had no basis for comparison. So this was really a golden opportunity, and also, spoiler alert, as I'm recording the audio and cutting this video together, I've received the Moser AB9 for review. So the timing is fortuitous, given how fresh my memories are of this sim experience. Get sub, ring the bell so you don't miss the AB9 review. The throttles also caught me by surprise a bit, just the pure weight and heft of them. At home I used the Thrustmaster TCA Airbus throttles, and I stand by them for home simulation. I think they're a cracking bit of kit, but yeah, the force required to move these throttles was just totally different. Really great for taxiing if you just want to give it a tiny bit of power to keep it rolling on the flat. The climb gate felt like it was positioned much higher, giving a much larger range of movement should you decide to do a manual throttle landing. Now, for my Thrustmaster TCA throttles, I did 3D print some custom detents to kind of expand that manual throttle range, which has helped, but it's not a patch on what we've got here. Another thing that surprised me was just how much bigger the reverse thrust flap lever thingies are. Again, to compare to my TCA throttles, they're quite small and it's very easy to get your fingers over them to engage the reverse thrust, but these felt longer, making it, I guess, a more deliberate act to engage the reverse thrust, which, I suppose makes sense if it's all in the name of safety. Now, interestingly, the rudder pedals that they've got here are actually Thrustmaster TPRs. They've got two sets, one for the pilot flying, one for pilot monitoring. And speaking with Hani, who has literally thousands of hours in the real thing, he was saying, short of ripping apart an actual A320, these are pretty much the bee's knees, which leads me on to the tiller. I'd gotten so used to controlling the nose wheel steering with my rudder pedals at home, and I kept trying to taxi with the rudder pedals here, but of course it did nothing. Lovely feeling tiller though, again, really weighty to move around. You kind of got the sense that there's a really solid kind of spring or gear system underneath kind of working it all. I really feel like the home simulation tiller market is massively underserved right now. So I really feel like Thrustmaster should, or someone, should come out with a tiller for, maybe inside of $100. I think whoever does that first will probably immediately have my business. Of course, like the rest of the cockpit, it's just beautifully appointed, from the FCU to the radio panels to the flaps lever, the speed brakes, the MCDU. It's all there, including the overhead panel. I mean, heck, even the seat is motorized. You press a little button and it kind of slides back and then slides off to the side so you can get yourself out of the seat. It's really, really awesome. There's also something that you can't see, and that is that the cockpit is kind of loaded with transducers. Now, Hani and Ethan said about this, and I thought, okay, cool, maybe we'll feel a few vibrations, through our feet or whatever. But it was much more than that. In particular, when you raise or drop the landing gear, you can really feel these kind of big clunks as the nose wheel, drops down from beneath you. It's really, really cool. As for the displays, they've got 3 displays that wrap around you. I'm not entirely sure exactly how big they are, but they were absolutely huge. And of course, there's only one GPU for this, and that is, of course, the 5090. I had to laugh when Hani said, you're in deep when you spend £2,500 on a graphics card, and it seems like a drop in the bucket. Right, so let's jump into our flight. Now, Hani started me off with a bit of a warm-up lap around Cologne, which I thought went really well. We didn't get this on camera, though, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Afterwards, we set off for our main flight that Hani had planned for me, and that was from Cologne to Innsbruck. Really cool, actually, as the day after we filmed this, I was actually flying to Innsbruck for real for a short break. And for the setup, Hani left me to it, setting up the MCDU, but if you aren't familiar, he'd take you through it all, there's no problem there. There were several points throughout this session where kind of holes in my knowledge were exposed, and both Hani and Ethan were great at explaining things, so don't feel like you need to know everything to have a good time here. In fact, I'd encourage you to embrace the fact that maybe you don't know it all and take advantage of the fact you're going to be sat with a real A320 captain who you can ask all of those little questions that you maybe have never found a satisfactory answer for online. Like, honestly, having Hani next to me felt like some kind of cheat code. It was awesome. So not a crazy long taxi to the runway here, but it will give us a chance to talk about the software stack that's going on. And interestingly, after we finished the sim session, I got chatting to Ethan, and he said that, believe it or not, the hardware isn't the majority of the cost going on here. Despite the amount of hardware on show and the quality levels going on, he was saying it's actually the software that eats up the money. So the base sim is actually Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, but don't be thinking that there's no difference between this and what you have at home. There is a lot more going on. First and foremost is the plane. Now, this isn't just the Phoenix running here, this is the ProSim A320. We're talking tens of thousands of pounds just for the plane. Suddenly, your Phoenix and your PMDGs are looking pretty cheap, right? As for whether they're running Active Sky, which is great, I've never tried it myself at home, but I've admired it from a distance. But what's really cool is that Active Sky interfaces directly with the ProSim A320, feeding all of that live weather data into the plane's flight model, resulting in an incredible hand-flying experience. We'll talk about it more later, and I say this as someone who loves the Phoenix A320 for home simulation, but believe me, this is on another level. We're also using a Beyond ATC for air traffic, and along with that rascal GSX. Just coming onto the runway now for takeoff, and again, it felt really great to use the tiller to steer us around despite trying to use the rudder pedals to do so about 50 times. Like, the muscle memory is really strong with that one, it seems. And we're ready to depart, so I will stop blabbering on for a moment and let you enjoy this wonderful departure. Okay, take off. Take off.
Okay, the thrust all the way to my flex. So this is when we hold.
SRS green.
Yeah, my flex 66.
66.
SRS green. And now thrust is set.
Thrust set.
100. V1. Rotate. Now that V1 we can let go of the throttle. Positive rep.
Gear up.
Yeah.
So I got properly into hand flying this departure. I usually only get so far during a live stream, and then I'll whack the autopilot on, usually because VATSIM gets super busy and I need to concentrate on putting in headings and stuff into the plane. But with Hani taking care of business next to me, I got completely and utterly lost in the moment. I think I must have hand flown this plane up to like flight level 200. Who knew? Having two of you makes life so much easier. So it's not a particularly long flight down to Innsbruck from Cologne. And as we got closer, we got cleared onto the RMP visual approach for 08, which was actually the same approach that we flew on stream just a couple of days prior. A very challenging approach, in my opinion. Lots of turning through the valleys with very little time after the final turn before a touchdown. So, what could possibly go wrong? Okay, so let's fast forward onto our approach into Innsbruck beyond ATC, brought us down from our cruising altitude, and here you pretty much follow the valley in a bit of an S shape, whereby you turn to the right, then you make another turn to the left before the runway is pretty much right in front of you, hence the challenge when flying this approach. However, as you can see here, as we kind of cut to just after that final turn, yours truly here made a little bit of a mess of it. We're coming in far too high. I will admit there was a little bit of press-on-itis that started to creep in. I did wonder whether I just, whack that nose down a bit to recover. But I think it was really all over for this approach. So a go around it was, and again, just so much easier doing a go around with Hani next to me, sort of taking care of the gear and the flaps, and just having another set of eyeballs around. I can't emphasize that enough. It really did strike me how you're so alone when you're on VATSIM, just doing it all yourself. Having someone else there, really cool. I can't wait for 2024 to get that shared cockpit experience that was mentioned a long time ago. Also, one thing that really surprised me when jumping into the sim was how hard it was to work out if you were lined up with the runway when you're on approach. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but when you're flying at home, I generally will line the runway up with a certain point on the glare shield, and that kind of becomes my frame of reference. In this simulator, though, that's all gone because we have no virtual cockpit on the displays at all. Instead, we have a physical cockpit right in front of us, and that really caught me off guard. During my practice run into Cologne, which sadly we didn't film, I was kind of fighting a little bit to get it lined up, and then Hani said to me, line your right leg up with the center line of the runway, and like all of a sudden it clicked. Again, just kind of like cheat code activated. Now, if only there was a similar trick for not coming in too high into Innsbruck. So let's catch up with landing attempt number 2. So this time around, I had the good wisdom to enable track FPA mode. The plan was to do that on the first time around, but, well, I didn't because reasons. We slowed ourselves down a bit further out as well, just to kind of make things slightly more manageable for ourselves. Now, you really get a good sense of ProSim's flight dynamics flying around these parts, lumps and bumps I've never felt in the sim before. Even on the cruise, which is normally on rails for me at home, I noticed the plane getting bobbed around in a very realistic manner, particularly the yaw, i.e. you kind of get bobbed around such that it swings the nose of the plane left to right a little bit. Really cool. All right, we've done our final turn. The runway's ahead of us. No messing around now. Come on, let's land this thing.
200.
Might need that max auto brake, just saying.
It's not allowing me that, that's fine. We can go to manual braking. I'll let you know if you need manual braking, just don't worry about it. Yeah, don't flare too much.
And we're down slightly on the late side. I came in a touch too high, but I think all things considered, that was all right for a Wally. What I will say is actually I thought maybe I was a bit too aggressive, stamping on the brakes here as we tried to make this right turn for the taxiway. Now, having flown into Innsbruck for real the next day onto runway 08, the same approach we just did, I can tell you that they absolutely slammed on the brakes to make that turn, such that all the overhead luggage kind of slid forward in the bins at the top above you. You sort of heard it all go crashing forward. I guess they really didn't want to have to do that backtrack. A quick taxi to the gate and a great day was had by all, and I really mean that. This was such a great day out. I'm very, very grateful to Hani and Ethan for inviting me up to do this. They've really created something very, very special indeed. But it's not just the sim, it's not just the gear, it's kind of them, really. I picked up so many bits of wisdom throughout the day, just kind of nattering away. So thanks again to Hani for being awesome to fly with, and thanks to Ethan for running tech for us. You can't see him, but he was sat behind the camera in a seat with a little computer all hooked up to the sim. They've shown me afterwards actually all the different failures you can activate within ProSim, or how you can just set yourself up for a landing anywhere if you want a bit of landing practice. It's really comprehensive stuff. It's such a great day. If you do fancy coming down and having a go and seeing Ethan and Hani, like I said, they did give me a coupon code of NOT5 where you can save 5%. Again, full disclosure, I also get a referral fee, but it's a great way to support the channel while saving yourself a few quid. Everybody wins. Also, if you're a member of my Discord, you can get a larger 10% discount. If you want to join, you can do so by becoming a channel member here on YouTube or by subbing over on Twitch. Thanks for watching, folks, and thanks again to Ethan and Hani, absolute heroes, the pair of them. I can't wait to hopefully get back here someday and have another crack at this. But until next time, you all take the very best care of yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, happy flying.